So please introduce yourself.
So I am Miss Harmony Mehn. I am a French teacher here at BIS Hanoi. I come from France, from a city in the northeast of France called Strasbourg. It is
Yes.
just on the border with Germany.
Oh, okay. So I have some questions for you, as you're very special to be interviewed on this day.
I am
So,
honored. Thank you very
thank.
much.
So, as a teacher in Hanoi, what does it feel to be a teacher?
So being a teacher here, it's a very rewarding job. The students are very pleasant, very well behaved, and always willing to make very good effort in the classroom. I am very honored being a teacher here because I feel like it is a very positive environment for learning and making sure every student reach their potential.
Mm. So, how long have you been teaching in BIS Hanoi?
So in BIS Hanoi, I have been teaching for 2 years
Wow,
exactly now.
2 years exactly. Wow. So that would be in 2022.
That is correct. I started after the TED holiday in 2022.
Wow. Um. So, do you love teaching BIS?
I do love teaching in BIS. Not only does it have fantastic children and fantastic students, it also provides a lot of very good amenities and equipment to support the students' learning. And as a teacher, it is very interesting and always a challenge to ensure that all those resources are used to support our students.
So, as year sevens ourselves, we have a lot of questions for the MFL team, such as how long did you guys take to set up the year seven spelling bee? French.
So the first thing to note is that I am talking. It is not a one-person's job. It was a team effort. So I worked with all my colleagues of the MFL department. To prepare for the spelling bees, we had to do several things. First of all, we had to train the students in the class to make sure that they could have all the strategies in order to be able to write the words.
Yes.
And one of the main challenges we faced is, especially during the final round, we had to make sure that even the students that were not on stage were involved in the final. That's why we decided to create the Kahoot to make sure even the audience can get engaged. So it was a task that required a lot of coordination to make sure that all the classes were studying the word at the right time and especially at the same time as the other classes. It also required a lot of organization because we had to ask a lot of permission from the school to make sure we can use the facilities. We had to ask the audiovisual supervisor to be in the room during that lunchtime as well. And of course, we had to create the Kahoot. So it wasn't so long because we really split the task in our teams.
Mm. That's really interesting, and I see you really helping a lot of people, students around the school to, like same with the other teachers, such as Miss Dor and Miss Byron, showing a lot to Spanish and French cultures to a lot to 1,700 students every like almost every day. So we appreciate that. Okay, so let's move to some your personal questions.
Yes?
So I remember seeing a poster in front of Mr. Pearson's room that you hosted in a you were one of the interviewers on a television channel in France, right? In TV in France once or
I don't think so. Maybe there was a mistake.
I think yeah, because there was a poster in the Pearson's room that said you were a news reporter in France once.
So that seems to me like being one of the joke poster of Mr. Pearson.
Oh, okay. So I fell into
So
that.
that is not something that actually happened. It's probably something that was true or false about the year 12
Troll.
tutor teachers. I was not an interviewer in France, unfortunately.
We wish you did because I think that would be interesting. So,
I did a lot of interview though when I was studying to become a teacher and when I was doing my masters, but I was not published in the news. I apologize for the misunderstanding.
no problem. How many countries did you teach in?
So, I taught first of all in France.
Yes.
That's where I started. When I started in France, I was teaching students who were coming from different countries and had to learn French very quickly to be able to go to school in France and get their school taught in French.
Yes.
Then I moved to Scotland
In Scotland.
and I stayed 4 years in Scotland where I taught in a different high school, public high school. Before coming to Hanoi, I taught in Papua New Guinea, which is a country north of Australia in the Pacific Ocean.
Yep.
And now it's Hanoi.
That's really adventurous. I see you went to a lot of countries all across the globe, and that really might inspire me to travel a lot of the world too.
Fantastic.
What do you think of French history? I find it really unique, in my opinion.
So I have. So obviously, French history is punctuated with a lot of more than unsavory events.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which I think we should see through the lens of what happened at the time, especially in terms of the French Revolution. In spite of the very violent actions that were taken, I think it had a very positive outcome for our country in terms of inclusion and accepting people regardless of where they come from. In terms of France and Vietnam, obviously French people were the colonizer. So it's the person who came and invaded a country and sometimes with very violent action as well. I think we cannot deny what happened, but equally we should also look at the different positive and negative outcome of the experience. I think that what happened in the past creates what's happening nowadays. And although I'm not trying to excuse what happened because it is not my role and I didn't have any say in that, I think we should also not be curious and be curious about the outcome of the situation and look at it in a neutral lens rather than it's all positive or it's all negative. Especially in terms of language, because I'm a linguist and I'm very passionate about the influence of languages on other languages. And Vietnamese, I think, is a very interesting language and very unique in Southeast Asia in terms of alphabet used.
Yes. So speaking of languages, how do you communicate to people in languages other than English, Spanish, or French?
So that question means what other language I can speak?
Yes.
Or how do I communicate when I can't speak the language?
Yeah, both.
So
at the same time.
in my studies, I've studied a lot of languages, so I can speak a bit of Mandarin. I've learned Dutch and Danish as well. I am fluent in German because that's the first foreign language I learned at school because I come from the border
Yes.
between France and Germany. I am trying to learn Vietnamese, but unfortunately I do not dedicate enough time
Yeah.
for my liking to
And
get the
I
language.
understand Vietnamese is a really hard language to learn. It's also globally number tested is a number 11th most difficult language in the world.
I think it depends of the language you talk in the first place,
Yeah.
because Chinese is always going to be difficult
So
for people that write in the Latin script.
yeah.
However, it might be much easier for a Japanese person. So I don't think that some languages are more difficult to learn than other, because in linguistics we use grammar to understand how a language functions. And if you understand the grammar, no language is more difficult to learn than the other. It all comes down to the time that you're ready to dedicate to your learning of a language and the regularity of your learning. So, learning a language is hard if you're going to study for 1 hour a week. But it's going to be very easy if you do 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, 5 minutes the day after. It's keeping it fresh in your brain at all time. And I think the main challenge is to build these habits into your routine.
So I appreciate you having your time to come to this interview, and I'm happy that you also came to the interview to make my day really happy. And I hope you have a good day after this. But unfortunately, we have to close the interview. And yeah,
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation. I'm very honored that you chose me for an interview, and I wish you a lovely end of your day.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.